Welcome back to another episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast. My name is Nicholas Canby, and this is episode 64. And today we are introducing the new owners of Strongman Corporation. But before we do that, let's look back and say a special thanks to the previous owner of Dion Masters. Dion spent 20 years as the owner, expanding upon local, regional, and national level shows. She implemented the Arnold Amateur as well as helping with the induction of the Arnold Pro Women Strongman show. Also added many new ASMs for many weight class athletes and expanded on the Women Pro division. So thank you to Dion for all your service and the help to the Strongman community. Now let's move on to the new owners of James Deffinbaugh and Lynn Morehouse. James has been competing in Strongman for many years. He is a former America's Strongest Man, 105 kilo back in 2017. He's also the owner of Spider Strength and Spider Tacky and has been involved in the community, helping out in competitions for several years. And then we have Lynn Morehouse, the owner of Train Strongman and also the mastermind behind the official Strongman games and regionals. So let's sit down with both of these guys, talk about the new plans for Strongman Corporations and their thoughts for the future on today's episode. So tune in and don't miss what the guys have to say on today's episode on the Strongman Winner Circle. All right. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for coming on. And it's kind of surreal to be having you guys on. Of course, I met James back in 2013 at Denison, Texas. And then I did my first Lynn Morehouse show back in 2014 at North America's Strongest Man at the local CrossFit gym. So 10, 11 years later, here we are.
Yeah, and you really went into the archives for some of those photos. That was excellent to relive those.
Oh, yeah. I love hopping into Google.
A lot of pre-beard photos for all three of us.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's great to have you guys on. But of course, we have a lot of questions for today. But I just wanted to kind of start off going into you guys' Strongman journey. Was, for instance, owning a federation in the plans?
I doubt it was really in the plans for either of us when we're starting out. I discovered the sport 17, 18 years ago. I was just working an IT job and kind of bored with all of that. And I discovered one of my coworkers did it, and he invited us over, and I just took to it right away. For me, I never expected to do well in it, to be influential in it or anything like that. I just liked the crew and liked the sport, and just over the years, it's grown to be more and more a part of my life until we've kind of got to where we are now.
Yeah. Excellent. Similarly, World's Strongest Man has been a part of my life forever. That was the cool thing to watch. And I found out about Strongman having weight classes. And so when I started, I was a lightweight, middleweight now. But
what year was that, Len?
What was that?
Sorry to interrupt you. What year was that?
2006. So 18 years ago was my first competition. It was held inside of a bar promoted by Chris Lawyer in Virginia. It was a great contest, a small group of athletes, and really just kind of fell in love with it as well. And as far as, thinking that we'd ever have any kind of major position within the sport, I think that sort of started to manifest a little bit, about 10 years later when I started promoting larger and larger events and realizing, hey, this community and this sport, more people need to find out about it because it is life-changing. And so it's kind of come to this point. Did I think I'd ever be in the position to co-own Strongman Corporation with James? Absolutely not. But, in some ways, it's kind of the natural evolution.
Absolutely. And of course, excited for what you guys do, but talking about especially going into ownership or change administration, the first 100 days are usually pretty important. So anything that you guys are planning on changing or implementing in the near term?
So far I've spent most of our time just, getting the business going, getting all the technical stuff done, all the accounts set up, all of our systems in place, the accounting software, figuring out the membership software, all the policies and procedures has been taking up most of my time so far. And we're also getting right into nationals prep. And that's huge every year, which is kind of making it hard to make, the bigger changes and bigger announcements, in the short term. Because right after nationals, we have the Olympia, of course, Masters National after that. Lynn has OSG at the end of the year. So we've got a very busy first 100 days. We're working very, very hard to try to get as much done as we can outside of just the keeping it moving part of it. I think we're going to keep making steady progress, for the first 100 days. I'm looking forward to early next year. I think we'll have the most time to make more impactful changes for our promoters as far as making their lives easier and improving and doing what we can to help them improve the quality of their shows, and quality, better athlete experience, everything like that. And any way that we can help, I think that's going to be more towards the beginning of next year.
A good bottom up approach. And of course, starting the local, again, they're the grassroots of the sport. Anything you want to add, Lynn?
I would say, we got into this position not on a platform of, oh my God, we're going to rip out and change so many things. We love Strongman Corporation. We love the Strongman community. We enjoy competitions from the grassroots, where a lot of times we're volunteering or, even running some of those local shows, all the way up to the America's Strongest Man in the Arnold and obviously OSG. So a big part of it is making sure that the things that have already been committed to go off as well, if not better than they have in the past. And then, like James kind of alluded to, we have kind of some big plans to make some improvements for 2025. But this beginning portion, especially that first 100 days, there's just so many things to do, getting some of the communication channels set up. I wouldn't expect just rapid changes. We're going to listen first and then make moves slowly and, with purpose.
All right. So not too many executive orders right away, but of course, just getting a lay of the land.
I was fortunate enough to have been able to influence a lot of change over the last couple of years in my previous position. You mentioned like axle belt cleans explicitly, and at all the last few big shows, we've allowed axle belt cleans. At a few of our shows, we've done Viking press, where we allowed split jerks, and it turned out fairly well. A lot fewer judging concerns as there were when we used to disallow any kind of second double knee bend on that.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, we've already started kind of the progress of elevating some of the other weight classes that don't have pro classes. We added the 200 class to the Arnold, the 265 class to the Arnold, as well as the 125 and 160 women's classes. So we're already on the direction of some of kind of the vision and the changes that we want to make.
Now, so let's just stay on the potential rule changes. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on suits? Is that going to be competition dependent, promoter dependent, or do you guys have or not to worry about suits or no suits?
So I would say overall, if you're promoting a show, you get to make that decision. We might make defaults standards, but ultimately, if in your community people hate suits, you don't have to allow a suit. If in your community everyone likes suits, go for it. We want promoters to have that power to make that decision for their shows. Beyond that, for suits specifically, we're kind of talking about the pros and cons that it seems like, especially at the amateur level, most people prefer suits not being allowed because it is expensive and it complicates things, and we want it to be accessible. But when you look at more of the pro level, where honestly the cost of the suit isn't as big of an impact when you're at the pro level and your life revolves around it, and then we see it like the world level shows, suits are allowed. So it might make sense to usually allow suits at pro shows and not at amateur shows. That's something we've been discussing or throwing about. But in the meantime, we don't have a decided plan as far as suits go specifically for our national world level shows.
Yeah, as someone who's had to get neck deep in the drama of suits, What I would go and say is an important thing is to make sure that we're trying to be consistent with, the pathway forward. So there are some things where if World's Strongest Man has a bunch of established records, for example, and a big part of that is because of the allowance of suits, for example, the 505 deadlift goal that's out there right now, that's really not attainable, I don't believe, without a suit. So if you're trying to have a competition that is a records breaker or is geared toward an audience that is going for those world level things, then maybe suits are appropriate. But I think, as James kind of pointed out too, on the amateur novice scene, it really is just an extra burden that you're putting on people. And it's still being perceived as, well, if you don't do it, you're at a disadvantage. So then it becomes extra cost. So there's going to be some recommendations around sort of the level of the show. Make it a little bit easier. You may find your attendance is better because of removing suits, where a lot of people might not think that deeply about the fact that allowing suits really might have just increased the cost to a novice athlete by another $100 or so, to compete. And that's going to affect the number of athletes competing.
All right. All right. Of course, great answer on both of those. Of course, the question I kind of thought about. So both of you guys have been kind of pioneers for kind of different events that you would see at different strongman shows. Like James kind of helped Strongman Corporation with, of course, the great the Ukrainian deadlift setup. Lynn, you've been implementing, of course, a lot of medleys and all in OSG, but you guys plan on bringing back any certain events that we haven't seen in a few years on a national or on a regional level that you guys would like to see more implemented among either local, regional, or the high level shows? Like a Fingal's Finger or sumo wrestling. Any particular events you guys looking to add?
We're bringing the Conan's wheel back to nationals.
Cool.
That's always a hard one because we need to have lots of lanes and they take a lot of space. I would love to add more of the traditional events. We've thrown around the idea of how could we do a big show with like a car flip safely. We haven't solved that, but I would absolutely love to do some of the more interesting stuff again. It's got to be practical, it's got to be safe, but we're always brainstorming, ways to bring back some of the coolest older events.
I think that's the important thing to note is that, before we were athletes or promoters or any of that, we were fans of the sport. So those really visually iconic events are something that we're going for. I've been personally thinking about, Fingal's Fingers for a long time. And I would say that for me, the aspect of safety is the biggest concern. And, where I'm looking at, okay, how can we make this safe where, yes, you see the big, open athletes be able to take it to the shoulder when they fail. Well, you do that as a 140-pound woman, and we might have a different outcome. And so trying to think, all right, not just bringing these events that may have been created for a much larger athlete and just saying, okay, you're half or even a third their size, go for it. Say, all right, what can we do to make it safe? What can we do to make it scale so that, there's a faster event? Because if you've ever attended World's Strongest Man in the past, that is not an efficient event. It is slow and steady. It is meant around the production schedule, and they can do a lot of things manually. So a big thing that we always think about is bringing some of those events, but also making it so that it scales for the weight classes, it's safe, and it's efficient. And I think a good example of that is the Viking press setup that James and I worked on together, kind of a little bit of idea work. And then James just frankly, amazing engineering capability. We were able to make quick resets where the heights can change for athletes, because at the larger level, you don't see as much height change because everyone is, over 6'2". And so those kind of events, you'll see them get brought back as long as we can make sure that we don't kind of erode the athlete experience by making it a very slow event or introduce some safety concerns for the athletes.
All right. Excellent. James, one thing you kind of already touched upon is kind of talking about a little bit about the pro classes, but what do you guys have plans for in terms of like upcoming pro classes? Are you looking to add any additional pro classes? Because of course there's a few on the women, there's 2 on the men's side, but what does the outlook look for you guys?
Yeah, I think we are overdue for adding some more pro classes. Right now we have 2 men's pro classes and 3 women's pro classes. I feel like the sport's grown enough where we could have add the 175 and 200 pro class, or probably 80 kilo, 90 kilo for men, and then the 73 kilo for women. I think that would be a very solid move. I think it's time. It's overdue. We can definitely justify it. And we need to build more opportunities. And you look at for Strongman Games, hasn't been a federated Strongman Corporation event, but it's a pro level show, and so that's kind of where we should be going. That those are our pro weight classes effectively. So yeah, that's my vision for it.
All right.
Yeah. Totally agree with that direction. And one of the important things though is we want to make sure that the pro class has more opportunities to compete as a pro. It's not the finish line. It is a different level that you now get to compete at. It's not now I'm done.
All right, excellent. Looking forward to that. And I think some people forget that, of course, when we talk about strongman competitors as a whole, 80% of strongman competitors are weight class athletes. So of course there should be a lot of emphasis on that, especially such a large population of the actual competitor base. So kind of moving forward, so one of my, of course, favorite competitions in the past has been the Arnold Amateur World Championships. I personally competed in it 5 times, 1 time as a 105 and 4 times as a heavyweight. But do you guys have any kind of specific plans or potential thoughts in terms of spicing it up, or will you guys think about keeping it in a similar format for next year and the years going on?
We had our meeting with Arnold organizers, I believe, last week.
So you spoke to Arnold Schwarzenegger. How's he doing?
Arnold organizers, not
All
Arnold
right.
himself yet.
All right. Soon.
Hopefully one day. So everything's very positive. We have some ideas to help grow it, make it a little bit, keep on making it better. I feel like we've made it better every year. Our big thing is increasing the production value. We're definitely going to add a live stream. But yeah, overall, our relationship with the Arnold is great. I've been involved with him for the last couple of years, as well as the World's Strongest Firefighter. That's going to be a larger priority every year, because that's a very important competition for them and for everyone. I feel like partnering with Lynn will really help us effectively have 2 teams, for our event, because at the Arnold, we have Friday was the firefighters prelims, Saturday was both the firefighter finals and the amateur prelims. So we're kind of split. So I'm looking forward to the growth where we'll be able to handle that better, and hopefully add more on the Sunday, the last day of the Arnold, this coming year.
Excellent. Anything you'd like to expand on that, Lynn?
James hit the nail on the head with the production quality. A live stream, it's been sort of cost prohibitive. These large expos, they charge such ridiculous rates for the internet. That's going to be a massive investment that we make, because we want the sport to grow. We want those athletes that compete to have that exposure. So that's a big thing. Pushing for, getting the best space, the best time slots for different things. I would even say, when it comes to the athletes themselves, trying to get just continuing to grow the international spread of the athletes there. I think that it is a terrific international event, and we're really excited to be able to kind of give it a little bit more of the polish, if you will, because as far as the spectator experience or the crowd, it's one of the largest crowds you're going to see in Strongman, and it's all day, constant, very engaged. So there's a ton of opportunities there. We're really excited to keep it growing.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing that, especially heading into 2025. It'd be interesting if it'll stay in Columbus or maybe it'll go out to LA. Those are the old rumors of the time, but I think it's probably got to
I think it's going to stay. I think it's leverage. I think the rumors are leverage. But I think it'll stay in Columbus for a while.
All right. Well, you heard it from James, so if it changes, then you can blame James.
I don't have any special insight, but there's been all those rumors about this and that with the Arnold. I think it's going to stay in Columbus. It's perfect. It's part of the city culture now. I think it would be a bad move to move anywhere else.
That being said, there is more than one Arnold. The Arnold UK got a bit of a boost last year, or I guess this year. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays into all of this for 2025.
Oh, excellent. I was out in the Arnold Spain last year competing a little bit. It was not to the size of the other festivals, but it looks like that was the first one in a while. So it was definitely a good starting route. And again, had a lot of great competitors there too. So James, so I was tuning in to you listening. I was listening to the 580 podcast. I think one thing that you mentioned that's really important for you is having a clear route and qualification in terms of how to get to bigger level shows. I know that was important for you as a competitor, and it seems like it's going to be a statement for you as an owner going forward. So, what are your plans in terms of qualification and options going forward for Strongman Corporation?
So overall, within Strongman Corporation, it's going to be roughly the same. One of the things we need to do is properly communicate all of the qualification standards. That's kind of something lacking. We all know this does that, but there's no one good place to see all the routes. We have a route from a local show to nationals to the Arnold to Arnold Pro, and it needs to be more specific. And a number of years ago, there's actually someone made a graphic for the Pro Strongwoman. The path to get to the Arnold Pro Strongwoman, including the higher level international shows and things like that. I think that's something we need to do is really communicate all those paths, all those big shows, our regionals, our pro-ams, how to get the pro cards, how to, what that gives you, how to get to the Arnold, how to, what that gets you. I think that'll be a big part, is just making it simple to understand. And so kind of everyone's on the same page as far as, these are the highest level shows, these are the goals, this is what it'll get you. And I think that'll be a pretty large improvement for us.
Excellent. Lynn, would you like to expand on that?
The only thing I would really go and say is, when you promote a higher level event within Strongman Corporation, the regionals and whatnot, I just think you can expect a greater level of support from James and I and from Strongman Corp overall to help spread the word and make sure people are aware of that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you guys think about, for instance, pro cards per year? Now, for instance, once you guys are settled and have a good system, will you guys have, we're expecting to give pro cards out at the Arnold Am, at nationals, at maybe potential pro-ams. You think you guys will have a set amount a year, or depending on the show? But what are your thoughts about, of course, the pro card going forward?
Lynn, I'll let you go first.
Oh, I was going to let you. So as not being a pro, James would be the expert here. What I would say is that, a big part for me is to make sure that, pro is not a finish line for people. And so we're going to make sure that the appropriate number based on the opportunities that are afterwards, especially as we get into some of the newer weight classes that would be pros. As far as the existing 105 and open, and for the women, James is much more experienced with the pro system than I am.
Yeah. So we haven't, made any decisions yet, but on a personal level, I like the old pro-ams where the winner would get a pro card. I know that's where you got your pro card, Nick. That's where Sean Demarice did. That's where a number of the best Jeff Lee did. I really like that system. This year has not had the attendance this past years, but I think that was in part that it, was not properly communicated that, hey, you can get a pro card at this show. So I would love to, more the pro-am opportunities, maybe a pro-am at whatever competition could be a pro-am only for one class or two classes. to spread it out a little bit and kind of have, those high level shows run by our promoters throughout the country. Beyond that, we're kind of discussing after this year, will second and third place at nationals still give a pro card? I'm leaning towards only first place at nationals getting a pro card, because when you get a pro card, you can never do nationals again. And like my nationals win was important to me, and you can never do nationals again as that weight class. So I'm leaning towards pro cards, meaning you have to win a competition, and that would apply to nationals as well. So
I think that's a good point they mentioned. I can imagine getting second place one year, but then being told, no, you can't redeem yourself again.
Yeah.
And there's something about competing. Yes, there's an advantage competing in a pro class with 15 of the best people. There's also something about going against 50 or 60 people in your class. And to say that you can never do that again when your last time was a second place and you're hungrier than ever, I think that's a really good kind of insight from an athlete that, is something we're considering.
Yeah, and at big shows like our highest level shows, America's Strongest Man, it's always the most competitive All-American show out there by a long shot. And with the pro card system, what you have is a lot of the same people coming back, but you also have new people each year, and you want both. You want, if we're making it a better production where people are following it, we want people to know a lot of the athletes. We want to see them come back every year, but we also want the appropriate number of new athletes coming in, because that's how you build a fan base. You don't want a whole selection of new people every year, but you also don't want the same 10 people every year as well. So with that, we limit the pro cards so that it is extremely hard to get a pro card. So that it proves that it's not a fluke. It means that you are really, really good at strongman, and you're going to be good at strongman for some time. Just like, it's never made sense for Zydrunas Savickas to have to go to, some local show to qualify for Lithuania's Strongest Man, to qualify for Europe's Strongest Man. And that's why the pro card exists. So beyond that, with, getting the appropriate numbers for the American Strongest Man competitions, we could have some shows qualify for America's Strongest Man, but not give a pro card. Because again, the pro card, is multi-year. You get to do America's Strongest Man every year, and the pro shows every year. But again, if you get second or third nationals, you're definitely, more than good enough to do America's Strongest Man. The question is to prove that you can do it every year. So that's those paths are something that we're throwing around, we're discussing. Hopefully, as we hash out these ideas, we'll, get it in writing, make it super clear. And of course, with any of this stuff, we love to hear people's opinions. We love to hear ideas, because, we're just two people. And I think we all have kind of the same goals.
Similar to have done other shows. So if you guys are listening, any comments or ideas that you want James and Lynn to look at, put it in the comments, and they'll definitely be reading it when the show is put out on YouTube for everybody to see. But one thing I wanted to add about Zydrunas is Zydrunas competes because it makes him very happy, and he's very strong, and he can continue doing what he loves. But that was a great answer. But of course, I did like the sentiment in terms of the pro-ams. When I competed in my pro-am, I was one of 28. So it was a very kind of competitive field, especially in the Northeast. I was Strongman Mania with Mr. Bixler. So that was dating myself. But when I won my pro card, that was everything for me. And that was kind of like the first step into my strongman journey. So kind of a little bit moving on. So you have potentially different pro-ams. You have the Arnold Amateur, you have the pro shows, but any other additional competitions that you're interested in adding to a schedule? Anything that you guys talked about or kind of thrown around? Like personally, I would like to see maybe like a record breaker. So you guys could always have like an American record breaker. There's in the past, like for instance, my friend, Mr. Nico, the Greek Goliath, he wanted like American record breaker to break the American deadlift record from Jerry Pritchard. But do you guys have any plans on having maybe like a formal record breaker, or just potentially adding in a new type of show to the schedule that you think strongman fans will enjoy?
I would, so with the record breaker, I mean, it's hard to make it a big enough deal for people to want to travel for a record breaker, with all the costs associated with that.
Sure.
And trying to get a venue that has the huge audience that people deserve. So it would really be dependent on that. Last year we had for Masters Nationals as part of a small expo. It was a 2-day expo. The second day was record breakers, and we didn't advertise it well enough, so that was on us for sure. But overall, the attendance wasn't great. We did have Dimitar. He just narrowly missed the 18-inch deadlift record. But yeah, to do that, we'll need to push it. We'll need to make it very important. We'll need prize money. We'll need to make it worth traveling for. So if we can do that, I think a record breakers would be awesome. But it is dependent on those things.
I would go and just add that, we're fans of the sport, and we pay attention to themes that we see out there, and obviously this year is going to be a little bit of just keeping up with what's already committed, as I've said before. But with plans on 2025, there are things that we've noticed that people are very interested in. Right now, there's these an interest in higher level shows, smaller number of athletes, maybe a single division show. It's a little more common in Europe and UK for those single division shows than it is in the US. I think that's something that we could be very interested in doing, and we could do it well. The record breakers also, obviously, it's a lot of fun to be able to go after those things. The athletes are interested in it. We just want to make sure that it warrants, it gets the level of exposure that a record should have. We want to make sure that if you're doing the record, there is an audience, and that there is prize money, there's benefit, there's, as James put it, there's a reason to make the trip beyond just, your name in the record books there. So those are the things we're paying attention to. And I would see that those will be things that we look at for next year. I also personally am starting sort of my venturing into getting teens more involved, possibly even into the adaptive. These are things that exist out there, but Strongman Corp, proper hasn't necessarily had as much involvement in a lot of those. And I think we could do a lot with it next year.
All right. Excellent. But just to kind of touch upon kind of future plans, I know you guys are still kind of formulating everything kind of in the present, but 2 years, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, what do you guys envision kind of Strongman Corporation to be, or what do you guys plan on, or your hopes and dreams for the corporation?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, I want things to be, kind of what I mentioned is easier and better for the promoters. I want much easier and better live streams available for promoters. I want to help, give those tools so that every local show can be recorded. Because honestly, that's can be really important for people. When I hosted the Southeast Regionals a couple of years ago, that was my first show that I live streamed. And one of our competitors, his grandpa was in hospice, and he got to watch the show. And they sent me a nice message, and it's like, this is really impactful. So being able to have a pretty solid live stream at more local shows with the overlays with competitor on the screen, competitor name on the screen, that would be wonderful. And then the high level, kind of the pro level, we really want it to be in front of more eyes. I would love a TV contract, a live streaming contract. We're working in that direction by improving our production every year. But I mean, I think that's everyone's goal is, let's make it really good. Let's make it, closer to the mainstream, and I think we are building the tools to do that. And I could see it. That's the direction we want for sure.
Yeah. Excellent.
Go ahead, sorry about that. When it comes to this 2 to 5 years, you have to have those big, hairy, audacious goals. And I think, a goal for me, since I began competing way back in the day, that's still there, is that when you say that you compete in strongman, the masses know what you're talking about. And so, in a very general way, that it's this exposure of the sport. And we believe that can be achieved through the higher production quality, getting it onto, a TV or some broadcast channel that can reach the masses. And, that continues to be a major goal. I would also go and say, for me particularly, making it so that this community that people are able to experience, they can also go and build those memories by having more international travel. And that's for, people coming to the US as well as people in the US, having opportunities overseas, because the memories that you build from that, last a lifetime. So as far as the sport goes, I want people to know what that sport is. And then once they experience it, I want them to have memories for a lifetime.
All right, excellent. But being on TV would be pretty cool, or live streaming, maybe at Netflix or Amazon. That'd be huge. But I want to talk about potential other future plans. So this is why I told you that would be the fun questions. Would you guys ever have like a storefront, like a Strongman Corporation storefront, like where you can come visit, potentially a gym location? You go in there and you buy merch, and you get to see everybody in the office. You guys have cool, like, and maybe potential office where you guys have cool, quirky office videos, kind of like the old ESPN offices commercials back in the day. Have you guys thought about an office or a storefront?
We kind of talked about it, having a compound.
What compound? Really?
Like a place like the gym with a event center with a somewhere for me to build equipment. Like that would be great if we can make it happen. Of course, that's a lot of huge time and energy commitment, and that's not going to be our priority for a very long time. But that would be definitely very cool to have.
Yeah, in some ways, we already have sort of the opportunity for you to come check us out. With James Spider Strength Gym, there's athletes from all over the country, if not the world, that will take that opportunity when they're close enough. My house has been kind of open to the public as an opportunity. But in general, I think, a storefront where you can get a custom fitted deadlift suit, no, the tailor that does the measurements. No, I don't know. In general, I think what you can expect is that James and I will be working together. And so this isn't, we live in the same town. We're going to try to make efforts to make sure that decisions that we make, we're able to actually be in the same space to discuss things. I think that gives the opportunity for anyone who would like to interact directly with, the heads of Strongman Corporation. They have that opportunity.
Excellent. Now, any ideas on merch, T-shirts, hoodies, any stickers, promotional items, swag?
So Dion will continue we'll begin start selling Strongman Corporation branded merchandise.
Oh, awesome.
So that she'll still be part of the sport in that regard. She'll be at nationals selling merchandise. For our own stuff, it's something that, through Spider Strength Gym, there's been a demand for merchandise, but has never been a high enough priority for me. I think Lynn with Train Strongman and OSG it's similar in that we always talk about going in that direction, but there's so much other stuff going on. It's always been hard to really put any energy into it. But
yeah, the reality is we're going to end up having to work with a partner because with the initiatives that James and I have, adding a lot of different merchandise just doesn't hit the same, adrenal system for us that some of the things that we have that are bigger goals does. So that is something that was kind of interesting, a neat opportunity for Dion to still remain in connection with the Strongman community, is she had asked to be able to still have merchandise with the Strongman Corporation logo on it. And I think that's going to be fun, but we will partner with someone that allows us to do things based on the demand that's there, because we know for a fact that both James and I, we can talk big goals, but it just isn't as important as some of the other big things we want. So we'll be looking to partner for that.
Sure. Now, what do you think about maybe a mascot? You guys ever thought about a mascot? Maybe someone that could come around to the big events, say hi to the kids, the picture opportunity, having a Strongman Corporation mascot.
Are you available?
Yeah.
Well, I could potentially. I would think, like, for instance, like someone like Alan Colley would be great.
Oh yeah,
at being a mascot, but that would be a very big suit, and hopefully would have air conditioning in it. But the question is, like, what animal or what person do you want to put in there, or just maybe someone on stilts and someone that's bigger than life at the mascot.
I don't know. That'd be fun.
Something that can be a 20-foot inflatable. I think you're onto something there. Yeah.
Well, probably like an Atlas.
Yeah.
Like, with the big, Earth on its back or something.
I like it. Now, still on like the branding stuff. Of course, within like Strongman Corporation, originally they went from like North American Strongman to Strongman Corporation and all. But now with you guys as the new owners, will you guys keep making any plans up to the logo, or making any changes, or putting your own little twist to the logo? I know you do a lot on logo designs and just imagery, Lynn. I don't know if you had any thoughts on there.
I actually like the change that's happened over the years. Strongman Corp is an international brand. And I think that the iconography for the Strongman Corp brand is strong. It's useful for a lot of different things. I think, I don't know if we've tested it or not, but can we throw it into a laser cutter and get it into different things? I think so. So there's no immediate need to make alterations.
Yeah, I would like to bring back the old American Strongman logo for some things as well. I feel like that was also iconic, the kind of the log press logo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, our logos they're iconic. They're kind of a part of the sport. So I don't see any big changes.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if you wanted to like add like a dog to it or anything like that. You could put like a wiener dog like Maya. She wants to know if she can come to some of the local competitions soon. That's her big thing. But that's pretty much all my kind of questions for today. But is there anything that I missed, or anything you guys want to add before we round out the show?
No, I thought we covered a lot of ground. Hopefully we can accomplish as much revision as possible. Kind of talked a lot about what we're trying to do, and we're going to find out, soon what we can do. We appreciate all the support we received from everyone. And yeah, we're just going to keep it going.
Yeah, I think the critical thing is to realize there is a lot going on, and we appreciate everyone having our back, giving us the support, but also being patient with us, because there are a number of things that are on people's minds for things they might want to improve. Just make sure that we're aware of those things, and we're happy to discuss at any time. That's a real critical thing, is to make sure that we're listening to the strongman community and making the moves that are the most impactful. There are a ton of things that we can do. So we're always going to be looking at that. What's that top 3, top 5? And that may be that we're backburnering something in the short term, but just recognize that we're pretty detail-oriented people that like lists and spreadsheets. So if you tell us something, it will be heard.
Yeah, excellent. So just to get all the communications channels for anybody that's listening, so if they want to look up Strongman competition that's local to them, they should head over to strongmancorporation.com.
Yep, absolutely.
Social media wise, you get the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok yet?
I've not even looked at our TikTok.
Okay.
I think it exists. I have a background in IT security, and I've always heard bad things about the TikTok security.
Okay.
But it's time to actually break down and see what our TikTok is.
Now Twitch or any Rumble and any other platforms. So, but mainly YouTube and Instagram is the best way to find social media related content.
Yeah, and I mean Twitch is a huge growth opportunity for us. We're having American Strongman 105K in just a couple of weeks on
right.
Twitch, and it's being on Twitch via a well-known streamer, and we expect to have a lot more visibility than we've had in the past on other American Strongman competitions.
Yeah.
So that's a really exciting move, and that's definitely a platform we want to kind of grow, because it's opening up a lot of new eyes that aren't seeing the sport otherwise, and I think people are going to be excited.
How are you feeling for America's Strongest Man?
Pretty good. Things were going well. Yesterday was my first bad deadlift day in months, so I'm feeling pretty good.
All right.
I got a outside chance at podium, I think, which is really good for me for right now. So,
all right, excellent. Well, I feel like it's gonna be a kind of great show down in Austin, Texas. Me and Jeff Lee did a little preview, so if you guys haven't watched that, that's the previous episode. But I thank you for so much for you guys for coming on. It's, of course, known you guys forever. This is a huge step in the sport, the right direction for the sport of strongman, and for the, of course, I always say this every year, but every year there's more opportunities in strongman, and I feel like this is going to keep adding to those opportunities in strongman, not just for the heavyweights, but for all weight classes and all genders and all ages. So thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Totally agree, and we're happy to be here.
So I'm going to put all the socials down in the description. You guys have any comments or questions for Lynn, make sure to put it in the comments section. I'll also have their Instagrams if you guys want to follow them personally. But thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, stay strong, everybody.